If you dream of your motorcycle, if your day isn't complete without some time in the saddle, if all you need is the open road and a full tank of gas, well, you've come to the right place, because this is Throttled, and it's starting now. Here's your host, Kevin McKinney.
Hello, and welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Glad you could join it. If anything goes wrong on tonight's show, it's Chris's fault. So, as we get into the show, we got a little bit of news. We got some feedback from a listener, so we're going to cover that. We've got our weekly rides and just kind of an update. Short section on Harley. We're going to talk about the paddock, and then we're going to call it a night. So whenever all that happens, we'll be done. But we have a full crew today, and we're going to start with the man to blame. Chris, man, how are you doing?
I am doing good, gentlemen. Good to be with you again. I missed out last weekend. I know you guys won't be recording for a week or two, so I definitely wanted to get in on tonight. I am doing well. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing good. And Chris did mention something very important there. We'll go ahead and mention this at the top of the show. We will not be recording on the 21st and 28th of March for various reasons. Those 2 weeks we're going to be taking off. Some of us are traveling. Some of us have other things. Other of us are available, but that's just decisions that were made. So the next 2 weeks, the live stream, no show. This show, I'm going to do everything I can to get it out before the break. So you will have a 2 week break. I apologize. But we'll be back near the beginning of April.
So we'll be back in 3 weeks, right? What's
3 weeks.
The next date then?
Yeah, 28th. It's like the 5th or no, it's 2nd, 3rd, 4th of April, maybe. Is that right? I think that's right. Yes, that is right. Okay. We'll be back the 4th of April. Alrighty. Well, speaking, Tom just mentioned that. Tom, how are you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm doing great. The weather this weekend in the Southeast was absolutely fabulous this weekend.
It was.
Great riding and just enjoying the outdoors.
Awesome.
And we had a time change and no issues. It was nice. It stayed light until 7:30, 7:45 tonight. So
why do we still do this mess? Why? It's stupid. It's stupid.
It's tradition.
I'm sorry.
Is it still light by you?
Yeah. I mean, Arizona got smart a long time ago and said, "You people are crazy." Florida tried to, but then they like technically Florida's not supposed to observe it, but then they still do. I haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah, it was bandied about in the Georgia legislature, but
everybody like 2-3 years ago, everybody we should get rid of it, and then a couple states voted to but I think it was dependent on other. One state, and this could be completely rumor, but one state I think voted for it, but it was dependent on the majority of their neighboring states doing it, which I'm like, you're a sovereign, whatever. All right, Larry.
Well, there are pros and cons.
No, there's only cons. It's screwing with me. That's the con.
There are pros and cons, and
so Larry, how are you doing? How's the time change been for you?
Well, you see, now I knew the time change was coming, and so I went to sleep especially early last night, and I slept till late this morning, and so I'm feeling pretty good actually. I feel pretty well rested.
Says the retired guy who doesn't have to answer an alarm clock in the morning.
Yeah, I just deal with I change all my clocks like middle of the day. So arbitrarily, I go around changing them, and my wife just has no idea what time it is, and we just kind of deal with it that way.
I changed all my clocks middle of the day yesterday. So in our house, the time change occurred about mid-afternoon yesterday.
Yeah, that's what I do. The day before it actually changes. I just start flipping clocks.
So Tom, the time zone line runs right through your house, pretty much.
Yeah,
that's at 6 o'clock
on my
that side of the house and 7 on that side of the house.
Guys, we're overlooking the simple solution to this problem. It's all Chris's fault.
Yeah.
So,
that's why his headset wasn't working.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
No, the headset was working. I wasn't working.
Yeah. All right, let's the other bit of show news, Motorcycle Podcasters Challenge, which we've received a little bit of information about. And it sounds like it's going to be great. However, unfortunately, Throttled as a podcast will not be having a show. Chris is going out on his own, having a team for his own team. Good luck, Chris.
Thank you.
Myself, Tom, and Larry just can't commit to what it may take to do what it needs to be done. However,
I have problems with commitment generally. So
yeah. I mean, if you really knew Larry, no, he's a great guy, and dependable.
Ask my wife.
Don't
ask her.
Yeah, don't ask her.
Just joking.
So, but here's what I'm encouraging to have happen. I know there's several people that are interested in joining the Throttled team, and unfortunately, we're not going to be having one. Throttle listeners, you guys can kind of organize out there. We will be kind of working something up. I haven't reached out, but I know Zach was asking me earlier about a team and some posts on Facebook. And I was going to say, hey, we've got the Throttled NPC Facebook group from last time. I'll make whoever needs to be a co-admin on that. Zach's already one of them, and you guys can kind of come together there if you would like. What we would need to do is facilitate a way for you guys to request access to that and to let you guys know about it. So, but I think it's a private group. I need to actually look at it, and maybe during the show or something, I can pull it up and actually look at it. We literally talked about this right before we started recording, so some of the fine details haven't been out there. On the Facebook page, however, I will be posting more details about this to kind of help facilitate the communication between any kind of show group and the people who are interested in joining and writing. We'll get that done. I apologize that we're not going to be having a show. I know the NPC has been a great part of this podcast for several years, but it's just this year, it just doesn't work out. And that's okay. COVID threw a wrench into it, and some of us are still feeling the effects of it, and I'm not going to give everybody's excuses, but, it's just the right decision for us to do. And we support a lot of the teams that are out there, and we're going to, if there is a Throttled fan or listener team, we're going to support them. If there's not, we'll support our friends on the other teams. We have friends on all the teams. So we'll support the Motorcycle Man, and we'll support Chris's team, and we'll support whoever else is out there, and we'll be following along with interest. And we may actually even join a team as a rider because we may feel like, hey, we have one weekend. We may be able to contribute. Let's do something that one weekend as a participant, but not as anybody organizing it and not as a main figurehead of that team. If that's even allowed in the rules, because I haven't read them on read the Cliff Notes. So, with that said, right? Let's get in comments, thoughts, guys, before we move on. I don't want to, except for Chris, because it's your fault and it doesn't matter.
If I think we've discussed that collectively through our various things going on in real life, just don't have the time to devote to leading a team, but some of us may be able to participate on a team that gets formed.
Yep. Larry?
No, I was just going to say I'll be interested to follow the progress of the challenge this year and to see what develops. And Chris, good on you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, Chris really helped out the last 2 seasons that we did it.
Yeah.
Chris kind of saw all the madness that I put into it behind the scenes, and then he stepped up and did a lot of the madness the next year. And so that's been great. So, and he's prepared. He's got a good show. So we'll see what works out and how this does. I'll post something on the Facebook post, probably tonight, and try to get things organized, and just follow us on Facebook, Throttled Podcast on Facebook, and you'll be able to follow along. And just scroll through some of the comments and notes there, and you'll be able to see everything from the post. All right. Got a email in. Let me pull that guy back up because I
drum roll.
Clicked off of it. An email. I don't know if I saw that. All right. So this is from Mike Don. It's regarding the Harley show. Mike, you're going to love today's show because we're talking about Harley some more. So he says, enjoyed your Harley show, episode 262. I must admit, I rolled my eyes when I heard the topic of the show at the top of the show, thinking, oh no, here comes another Harley bashing podcast. Just to let you guys know, he does ride a 2015 HDFLHR, also known as the Road King. But he was wrong, as the critiques were fair and for the most part favorable towards the motor company's adventure offering. So he's a Harley owner who loves all motorcycles and will give a wave to every biker he encounters on the road, even scooters. He's like myself. He's kind of on the fence with the whole slingshots though, because they're not motorcycles. I agree with you there. He didn't say they're not motorcycles. I'm putting that in his mouth. Just anyway. He has become, he too has become intrigued with the ADV world after watching the Long Way Round series, but only from afar. Now that the Pan America has him thinking seriously about how to convince the wife that they need another two-wheel bike in their lives. He has nothing against other brands, but with this new HD made me do some serious double take. I might be speaking for a lot of HD riders out there who are also pushing 60 who can afford a new motorcycle with, of course, the significant other's green light. He likes this thing, and that's all in caps. I like this thing. Now, will I pack up the bike and camping gear, grow out my beard, and call myself Ewan? Probably not. But I am sure I'm interested in making the investment, and he agrees with my final thoughts on that episode. So if you want to know what those are, go back to episode 262. He says that he goes on to say he's, just really kind of giddy and excited to try one of these machines out. And the fact that it's a Harley, if he's able to actually test ride the darn thing at the dealership, he's going to take the opportunities for it. So, Mike, thanks for writing in. That's the thing is Harley made a lot of right steps there, and they may be making more right steps with some of the news we've got coming up. So
yeah, but I might offer advice to Mike is that, okay, go ride the Pan American if it comes available as you dip your toe into the adventure market, but please don't stop there. Go ride a Beamer, go ride a Ducati Multistrada, all right, maybe a Tenere, or a KTM, but do a comparison.
Yeah, I'd tell anybody that, ride as many as you can, but here's the thing. Harley will let you ride it. The rest of them, the BMW will. BMW will let you ride it. For some of the dealers that I know.
Yeah.
The good luck on the Ducati. Good luck on the Yamaha. Good luck on the KTM.
This is true. But hey, glad that someone acknowledged that we said something nice about Harley. I even let Ted from Motorcycle Men know to watch that show that I complimented Harley. I want that noted.
Stands out in sharp relief.
Here. Tom's wanting a cookie. Alrighty. All right. So let's continue on with the Harley news.
Well, what about rides? Did people do rides this week?
Oh, sorry. I'm all excited. Riding. I did. I'll do mine real quick. Just ran some errands, out and backs. Decent amount of mileage, but nothing spectacular. I'm kind of taking Tom's advice. If I have enough time to put the gear on and get on the bike and take the bike and don't have a reason not to take the bike, I've been taking the bike to just run little things back and forth. Tom?
I did. I got out and had a excellent ride yesterday. So I joined up with a new group to go riding. This is it's a ride group that's guys have been riding around together for quite a while. It's run by, I'm going to give him a shout out, the leader of the group that led the ride. His name is Richard Dunn, Dunn, and he does run a moto vlog on YouTube. So, go look him up. It's called, it's under his name, but it's Ride On. And, as I was joining the group up, he and I had exchanged emails for a few weeks. And we were meeting up at a coffee shop, and he said, just look for the geriatric riders in the huddle of Ducatis. So I wasn't sure what I was getting into. So the ride there were 7 of us, myself, one other GS rider joined us after the first stop. But then the Ducatis were 2 Street Fighters and 3 Multistradas. One of them was the new V4. So, anytime you go with a new group, and I fit right into the geriatric moniker there. You never know, but these guys were. It was a spirited pace, and it was a blast. And as much as I know the North Georgia mountains, you always know that it's a good ride when you're just following along, and you have. At times, you just realize you have no clue as to where you are, and then you come out to an intersection, and it's, oh yeah, now I know where I am. And so we hit roads that I have not been on in years, or I've just haven't been on at all. So it was a lot of fun. We were all hooked up to comms to her, but he was on Cardo, so that was unique for me. Kevin, you and I did it when we did the Loud Pipes meetup, but this was 7 people, and the chatter was a lot because a couple of the guys tried out the V4 Multistrada, so you got their running commentary as to how they liked it.
How did that system work with all 7 of you? Because I know we rarely had an issue. If we had an issue, it was usually something stupid, like one of us did something wrong.
It was perfect. Once we joined up, everybody could chatter, and from the very front to the very back, I don't know how far we were because everybody was mixing as to where they were in line after each stop. But no, could hear everybody loud and clear all the way through.
And when you said spirited pace, would that be faster than what we did in the mountains?
Considerably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about the second day when we were going down to Blue Ridge.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. This was truly spirited. These guys were they were safe, but cooking along. All outstanding riders. But it was really fun to see some new roads. So Richard is a good guy, Englishman, who these guys get together every Saturday, so I'm sure I'll be riding with them a little bit more. But it's curious that they are all jumping on the Ducati bandwagon. Richard had a GSA. He just traded it in. He's going to be getting a new Ducati V4. Another one of the guys has an old Multistrada that he's already got his deposit on a V4 when they come in. So they're all enamored with this bike.
Now these are the bikes with the radar, with the adaptive cruise control.
Correct, which does not work yet.
Really?
Yeah, because supposedly Ducati has not gotten FCC approval or whoever governs that to get it to work. So it's on the bike. It is fully functional, but it is turned off.
Huh.
So you sell the bike, and here's the kicker on it. You buy the bike, and then supposedly sometime this summer, they're going to get regulatory approval. Then your dealer will charge you about $850 to turn the software on.
OMG.
Yeah. So that's the story with it.
Well, are they going to discount the bike $850?
Well, I was going to say, is it fair to say that you're paying $850 less when you buy the bike?
No. Supposedly the MSRP that is on it now is in line with that feature not being there. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I haven't looked into that.
It's interesting because I've read reviews of the bike and the adaptive cruise control system, and they've been working. Nobody mentioned that.
On the test bikes, but not on the dealer bikes. Yep.
Huh.
The bikes that go out to the public. Not functional yet. And some of the reviews have talked about that. But I will say these guys just gave it glowing marks of the torque, the responsiveness, the how it went, and these guys brand new were jumping from like a GS or an oldie Multistrada onto the V4 and were cruising right along with it without any issue.
Reviews have been pretty favorable, although the gas mileage leaves something to be desired.
Yeah, so the one guy who has it, he just did a ride out to Texas and back. So apparently, I think he's got more mileage on a V4 Multistrada than anyone else in the country right now. That he's racked up, and he said it wasn't too bad. That he's getting, I think it's 180 to 200 to a tank.
Which is what is it, a 5-gallon?
It's like I don't know. It's a little bit bigger than the GS. It might be like a 5.8, something like that, 5.5 or 5.8. So a little bit bigger. But he did not, that's been a moniker. He didn't think that was a big issue. Which I don't know. My GS is, I'm at 200. I've got a 5.3 gallon tank, and I can max at 200. Or 180 to 200. I'm looking for mileage as to depending on where the gas station is. Unless I do like my ride a couple of weeks ago, and I run it to near empty, trying to go to a particular spot, which I don't recommend.
Right, but which is good for a thrill. I always say.
Good for a thrill, and knowing that you may be pushing that bike for the last mile, and just be okay with that. But yeah, it was so all told did about 200 miles. Temperatures were low 60s to mid 70s throughout the day, all the way up into North Georgia and coming back. So absolutely gorgeous day, and just a great day of riding.
That sounds nice. So Chris, what about you? Did you do any riding?
Actually, yeah, I did for a change. So got out twice this past week. Temperatures actually got up to around 60. It was just, the air was calm, wasn't too windy. It was just beautiful. So had to take a little break from work and, get on the bike and just, did a little tooling around on Long Island, but it was really nice. I'm almost done farkling the Jeep, so now my attention can start going back to the motorcycle, which is good. And I did actually use the ABBA Skylift. I got the bike up on that, so that's all set up. So I think that's going to be really nice for working on the bike. The only thing I'll say is, being I don't have a granite smooth garage floor, and I think, Kevin, you had kind of alluded to this. You did not just shove the bike around like they show in the videos online, where you just like take a finger and you push the motorcycle all around the garage. But it is stable. Like, it is a very stable platform, and it is nice to be able, I can just lift the bike, twist it any which way, actually have it up in the air, sit on a stool, work kind of comfortably, like a gentleman kind of thing. So I think it'll my back will appreciate it, I know. So I think it'll work out well. How about you, Larry? Did you get out?
Yeah, no. This week I did not. I had planned to get out earlier in the week, but then we had a unexpected call, and we went down to my son's place and to see my grandson and to talk about some stuff with them. And so I missed my day of riding, and today it's been it's turned wet. Yeah, Brian actually got in touch with me, and he's interested in doing a ride, and maybe next week or towards the end of the week we'll arrange something. So.
Oh, nice, cool.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to get out, and that leaves Kevin.
Well, like I said, I just did a little bit of errand running. Weather's been great, but my son has started picking up playing golf. So Saturday afternoon, he's got. Local golf course has some lessons, and so we would go there for a few hours, and this time they actually let him play like a hole of golf afterwards, and so that was his first time to do that, so that ate up my Saturday afternoon real quick. And then the rest of the time it's just been one thing or another. Like I said, I've been trying to use it for errands, when I don't have to have a kid with me or something like that. I've been taking the bike out. So all right, so I'll admit, while I was actually chatting with you guys, I updated a couple people and on the Throttled NPC private group about the show's decision to not participate in the NPC. If you want access to that group in order to try to coordinate a listener, a listener kind of thing, see if you can search for Throttled NPC, request permission. If not, it's that you can't do that. It's literally the group's called Throttled space capital M capital P capital C. If you don't see it there, message us through the Throttled podcast page, and we'll get you in somehow, and then you guys can start the chat about, hey, how do we want to do this? And I'm just saying you guys have to self-organize, right? We're stepping out of the admin role on it, and we may still sign up and participate, but it would be as a listener show with just these guys who talk on a microphone from time to time. All right. So now we got that done. We got the email done. Everybody's riser in. We've got through all the pleasantries. Harley, because Mike has been waiting this entire time. So Harley,
wait, before you go into, I was really proud of us last week. We made it through an entire show without mentioning Harley.
We did, and we got back on normal because, I mean, there is not a lot of news out right now. So
this is true.
Yeah, but they.
I wanted to talk about Harley, but I was voted down.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, you had to be a coach to have an opinion last week. Sorry. You were a party crasher, but that's okay. You're always welcome.
See, it was Chris's fault.
Yeah.
If I'd been there, I could have voted with you, Larry.
Yeah.
Last
See,
week it was.
It's all Chris's fault.
It's still your fault, Chris.
Yeah. So Harley has trade named the name Nightster in the U.S., the UK, Australia, and someplace else. There's like 4 places.
They're serious.
Yeah.
This is serious.
So they did it on the same day. So on the same day, they trademarked it. Okay. So that was an initiative so nobody could jump on it. And you might say, wait a minute. Didn't they used to have a bike, Nightster? It was kind of a based off of the Sportster and just a little bit different. Yes, I did. A lot of people feel that Harley is going to retire the name Sportster and split that into multiple bikes, with the Nightster being one of them. And this was actually a rumor several weeks ago, but it was just that, a rumor. And just like most of them, like a few of them, this one seems to be gaining a little bit more traction rather than it is. One thing that people have started doing is, if you remember back a couple years ago, they had the 1250cc Custom that everybody was like, wow, that's a cool looking bike. And a couple people then said, maybe a Sportster replacement. I think I was one of the ones that said, yeah, I doubt it. But if you look at the Custom and you look at what the old Nightster used to look like, there may be something there. And because that Custom was just, it was pre-production, kind of thing. So they can change it, and I'm sure they have. But, they need an engine with it that meets all the regulations. There's currently no Sportsters anywhere but in the U.S. because of, environmental stuff. This very likely could be the way they go. They take that 1250 Custom, the concept, morph it into the Nightster. Then they come up with something that's more like a little bit different, maybe the Dayster. Please don't do that, Harley. Please don't do that.
They won't.
But, they may come up with another bike, and that would be your 2 bikes that replace the Sportster line. Your Iron. I could see them coming up, instead of like it being the Iron 883, I could see them coming up with a new Iron and it not being as associated with the Sportster, because I think it's like, if you read it on the tag, it's like that Iron, 883 Sportster, the Iron 12 blah, blah, blah Sportster. They take that off.
But don't forget, Harley has trademark rights to names such as the Bare Knuckle.
They do. So with this news, and I just kind of ran through the the bullet points of the news here. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about them retiring the Sportster forever? Well, okay, until they need to bring it back in 10 years. How do you feel about that?
Tom, you want to say something nice?
No. Sorry, not going to get...
As our resident Harley expert.
Mike, I'm sorry. We tried. We really did. And it's just Tom. So write your emails to, feedback@throttledpodcast.com, and just, direct them, attention Tom.
So I know the Sportster is a beloved bike. Going away, no, I don't care. But when I look at this, what I don't understand is the look at this Nightster bike that they've got up on here, and why did you kill off the Bronx? The Bronx looked like a gorgeous street fighter and an actual could have been a performance bike. Why make this pseudo performance bike? Same engine, but the seating position is horrendous. You're in that laid out C.
So I don't think they've killed off the Bronx. I think the Bronx is going to come back as something else. I think what they're going to do.
They're going to change ergo, so it's not actually a street fighter in the way you're sitting on it.
No, I think they're going to keep it a street fighter. They're going to set it up just a little bit, but I think what they're going to do is they're going to have that engine in 3 different bikes, not counting the ADV bike, right? Because it's slightly different. They're going to have a Nightster. They're going to have something that's got more of a, because that's a leaning forward, feet forward position bike. It's so
comfortable.
Yeah. But a lot of people like them. They're going to have something where your back's more up straight, and I think that's going to be more of your feet underneath you. I think that's going to be a little bit more of your naked is going to fit in there someplace, and I think they're going to work that ergonomics out a little bit more towards that. And they may change we don't know what the ergonomics of the Nightster is either, right? Because we're just looking at an old photo and the concept. That's all we got. So we really don't know what it's going to be. But I think they're going to have 3 bikes. They're going to have something where you're in more of a recline position, like on your track typical cruisers. They're going to have something more where you're sitting more mid-control and upright, maybe a little bit lean forward, thinking of your nakeds. And they're going to have something where you're, like trying to do a toe touch is what it feels like. And that's going to be probably the Nightster. That is my guess. Could be completely wrong. Most likely am completely wrong. But I see them having 3 bikes come out to replace, because the Sportster line was so diverse, right? I got a Sportster. Well, for crying out loud, that really doesn't narrow it down too much, especially giving some of the model years. I think that's what they're going to do. And so they'll have 3 different bikes come out to replace that one line. So lines of bikes may be a thing of the past.
Yeah, and this will be your entry level bike with the street going away. So a 1250 is your entry level bike for them.
Well, I really think that I'm hoping that they take the Bronx and put a lot smaller.
Wasn't that
engine
the concept was a 9 something?
Yeah,
when that was
but they need something smaller than that too.
Yeah, I think the engine is supposed to be essentially scalable, so that they were going to have a something like an 850cc version, and I think a 650 or something like that version as well.
They had I think different boards that they could put in it and do that. So I'd like to see them come out with a 650, a 900, the 1200, and that's your Sportster options. So I can see the naked being available in the 650 and the 9, and I can see some of the I don't know. They have a lot of different options there, but obviously they do need a new beginner bike.
So I got a question for you, and I guess, Larry, specifically for you, because you used to ride a Harley. So I'm looking at the picture of this Nightster. What I don't understand is that, okay, this is a 1250cc bike. By the looks of the bike, I'm sure this thing is going to weigh between 650 and 700 pounds. It has the look of being somewhat performance oriented. Why is there just a single brake rotor on the front tire? Single brake rotor really bring this thing down, have the stopping power?
Well, I think there are two parts to that question. I think you have the weight probably wrong. I think that based on how the Pan Am came in, I expect this bike is actually going to be lighter than that. A typical Sportster was around, I don't know, 575 or 625, something like that. So
okay,
I would expect
so 600. Let's call it.
I expect this to be substantially lighter than that, actually. So let's say 550 to 575. That's part one. The second part is a single rotor adequate? I don't think so. I think that the braking performance on the Sportsters was largely fairly inadequate over the years, and I think that's probably going to be true here as well. Now, they did come out with some versions of the Sportster that did have dual front rotors. The Roadster version, I think, had dual front rotors. They didn't last.
Yeah, I mean, remember, this is like 2007. So right. That image is from 2007. So it's a long time ago. And by the way, the running order for that bike in 2007 was 565, wet and ready to go.
Yeah. I'm just going by, okay, that 1250, even if they detune it for this, it's making 140 in the Pan Am. If they detune it maybe down to, I don't know, 120, 115, still, that's a lot of power for this bike. And to just not have the rest of the performance. I don't know. I look at it. If you're going to make a bike that is supposed to go fast or supposedly go fast, it's got to stop too. At least you'd like it to.
Occasionally, but no, I think that the single rotor is often not quite adequate for these. It wasn't for the Sportster, so. Maybe they'll come out with some dual rotor models. The other thing is that this bike is not necessarily intended to go fast. This is to replace. If it is a replacement for the Sportster, it's essentially a small cruiser line that they're going to be introducing. And the idea of a cruiser is you want to cruise. So you're not necessarily talking about high performance. They're probably going to be relatively high in torque and lower in horsepower, and these are going to be bikes that are more geared for initial riders. The Sportster was not terribly beloved of the bagger crowd. They tended to look down on the Sportsters as sort of women's bikes. And, I would always say when they looked at my Sportster, they would say, yeah, I got my wife one of those, type thing.
Meanwhile, they're on their bike with a whole 62 horsepower, out of their 1800 cc engine.
Right, but they've got 875 pounds of bike, not including their own weight. So I think that my expectation is that this is going to the performance is maybe better than you think. I can't attest to what's going to happen with the braking. The single rotors in general were not terribly up to the task, but who knows? Maybe they will come out with some dual rotor models. I think that hopefully when the Bronx or the Bare Knuckles comes out or whatever it is, that will be a dual rotor, more sport more sport bike type thing, and that will be more performance oriented. But these are small cruisers intended for the more introductory Harley rider.
Yeah, so it has first glance, it has a budget look to it. I mean,
you're looking back at, but remember what you're looking at is a 2007 model bike. So you're looking
that the first one.
Wait, that's the first one is a concept. Yeah. That's not even all real. There's a lot of painted clay on that bike, so take that in consideration as well.
Okay.
So that's. I mean, I would look at that as like, okay, so that's the concept years ago, and we know those concepts have changed. I mean, you look at you look at the Pan America with the concept. I was like, oh, this doesn't work, that doesn't work, this doesn't work, and they changed all that, right? So you look at this, I expect it to be nothing like this. Like the sweeping angle of the tank is probably the only thing you would keep the same out of this. I would expect it to change.
Well, except that that Harley had mentioned that it's planned for 2021. So this picture may not be that far off from the actual production model. It's not. It may be more metal and plastic than clay.
Well, this picture is the same picture that they showed ages ago.
Well, that was the one. The lower one is, but they have. Let me see. Well, I'm just repeating what I read, that this is this picture here with if you look at the tank and the paint on the tank, it's a different color than the earlier customs, and they may have fleshed it out a bit more. They're talking about coming out with it in a year or so. They probably are fairly close to what the production model would be. That would be my guess.
All right.
See,
we will wait and see.
The top one has a different paint scheme on the tank.
Yeah.
The lower picture.
Yeah, and you can see some other small differences between the two of them. Actually, large differences between the two of them.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah. All right, Chris, any thoughts?
No, I mean nothing in particular to add.
Okay.
So Chris,
it's all your fault anyway.
It's curious, because you're coming off of you had a smaller cruiser. Does this do anything for you as far as if you were still, you had a 650, as far as a bike that you'd move over to?
You mean to go, like, being a presumably, well, because it's as a more powerful bike, you mean?
I don't know, or just, did you ever want a Harley, when you had your Vulcan?
No. I mean, Harley has never been a goal of mine. Nothing wrong with them. I've ridden some. I do like this style of Harley. This kind of, like, especially the concept reminds me a little bit of the Fat Bob, which I really liked. The FXDR, which was a cool bike. It's a tough looking bike. It's got the fat tires and I don't think you're going to be cruising long distances with that little skinny seat on there. It looks more like a drag bike, you just drag from bar to bar kind of thing. But I mean, there's people that this kind of bike appeals to. I mean, like, because with what Larry was saying, on the Sportster kind of stuff, okay, maybe some people got teased about them or whatever, but I think it's basically the Sportster that you found guys doing a lot of customizations and stuff, right? Like, I've seen them around here, especially out summertime, and guys have them tuned and highly customized and that kind of thing. More so than I see, at least with the baggers and stuff. So
yeah, but especially older Sportsters, people like to take the older Sportsters and customize them, the heck out of them,
tune them. Yep.
Alrighty. Rounding out our Harley news. So Harley is introducing a new program called the Harley Davidson Certified Motorcycle. This is like any car dealership certified program. They're going to charge you an arm and a leg more to pretty much do what they do when they take a trade in and inspect it anyway and put it back on the lot. They're certifying it, and they only certify. It doesn't say if they're only going to certify Harleys or if they're going to certify any other bikes. I would expect it's only going to be a Harley that's going to be certified. As has been proven in the automotive industry, those things usually don't amount to much. Because they do those check-ins, the same number of check-ins before they had the program, but now it's certified. And, if you want a certified one, you'll pay more, which usually means that it's not too old. If it's got a ton of miles on it, they may not certify it. If it's been involved in an accident, they may not certify it, but they may resell it to you if it's in proper working order. And they'll charge you more for a certified bike.
Well,
So
this is so. They will come with a 12-month limited warranty.
Mm-hmm.
And
so that's the real kicker with the certification.
Yeah, you're pretty much just buying a warranty on a used bike.
Right. Well, the bikes will be up to 5 years old with as many as 25,000 miles. So they'll be relatively recent, relatively low mileage bikes, although finding a Harley with over 25,000 miles is not so easy anyway. But they with the 12-month warranty, you get some protection, but it's a limited warranty, and they're probably going to be fairly pricey. My guess is that it's not going to be that much below what a new version of the same model would cost.
I think if you get if you get a 4-year, 10 months at 20,000 miles, you'll save several grand. And it'll most likely have all the Farkles on it anyway that you'll be adding to your bike. What are you going to say, Tom?
The advantage of going through the dealership is what they're going to do is wrap this in financing. So you're not buying the bike for a price. You are buying that used bike for a payment.
A monthly
payment. How much can you afford a month? And then we'll work that bike into it.
Yep.
And generally, when they take in a used bike, they don't like a lot of Farkles on them. They prefer them to be stock.
Yeah, that noise is my computer.
Is somebody running a vacuum?
That's my computer. It'll go in a second. Oh. So yeah, it's like all the other programs, and nothing's changed about trading in your bike, So.
Well, this goes in line so the reason they're doing this is that they are going to, as part of the new strategy, is to cut production and make Harley a premium, which sometimes reads boutique brand. Boutique is never good in the industry. So this goes in line is that, okay, so my dealers, I'm not going to give you hardly any used or new bikes that you can sell, but here's a program for you to now become a used motorcycle dealer.
Calling a Harley a boutique bike is fighting words.
But that's the idea is that they're saying
they don't want to be a boutique.
Premium.
They want to be a premium, not a boutique. They want to be exclusive and premium.
Well, I don't know. That goes kind of in line.
Yeah, it's boutique when it's somewhat affordable. It's premium when you can't afford it. I mean,
exactly.
You're still selling the same amount of units. All right. Well, let's transition over to.
There was one other thing I would add. Harley is trying to jack up their prices essentially by producing fewer bikes and selling fewer bikes, making them less easy to obtain. Getting a waiting list back on, so when you order a bike, you have to wait for it and that kind of thing. Meanwhile, Indian is lowering. Is coming out with less expensive models, and they're coming out with sort of Street Fighter type bikes and street cruisers that get more competitive price wise. You don't have to wait for a Harley. You can get an Indian, any kind of Indian you want. So. Yeah,
isn't there new the Street Tracker? They just changed the wheel setup to a pair of 17 so that it is has a much more sportier feel to it than the previous.
It's much more of a road bike.
The previous was pretty good, but I'd be interested to see what the wheel setup now does to it.
But they've also come out with a pared down what are they, Chiefs that are sort of cruisers basically. They're competitive with Softails.
Challenger
in the Harley. No, not the Challenger. No. These are Chiefs that are that don't come with bags or windscreens or anything. They're basically cruisers, and they're intended to compete with the Softail line of Harleys, and they start out, I think, at around 14,000. And so you don't have to wait for a Harley. You can go into an Indian dealer and get anything that you want that comparable to a Harley, and it's right there. So I don't see this strategy of Harleys doing much except for maybe making more Indian buyers.
Well, we'll see.
That's a hell of a strategy. Yeah.
All right, so we need to start wrapping up the show. Can you quickly go through the paddock news this week, there, Larry?
Sure. Fine, I'll just quickly go through it. So I just wanted to mention that Flat Track got started this weekend, and I have the commercial broadcast for it have not yet aired, so I haven't seen the races. But for those of you who can't wait for the results, I thought I would just mention that the flat tracking got going this weekend. There was the Volusia half mile, parts 1 and 2, and for the first part of the for the Volusia Part 1, sorry to say, or happy to say, Jared Meese won it. I maybe getting confused. I'm just saying yes. So Jared Meese won the second Volusia half mile. The first half mile was won by Brandon Robinson, and it's interesting. The Brandon Robinson came in first, and Jared Meese came in, I think, third. Briar Bauman was fourth, and Beach came in second, and it was a pretty competitive race. So the top four riders included Briar Bauman, last year's champion, and Jared Meese, who's going to be obviously in the fight for this year's championship. And in the second part, Meese did come in first, and Bauman came in second. And I think that Slam and Sammy came in, I think, third or fourth in that race, and it was again it started off as a competitive race between Meese and Bauman, but apparently in the second half of the race, Meese just pulled out and away and took first fairly easily. So I'll have more detailed information when I actually get to watch the race. And as far as MotoGP goes, they just finished up the testing in Qatar, and so I think they had 5 days of testing. What's interesting is that initially it looked like the Yamahas were dominating, but by the end of the testing, it turns out that Ducati actually had the fastest time with Jack Miller. So it looks like Ducati is going to be competitive this year, and hopefully Miller will be able to show on the new Ducatis. However, second, third, and fourth place fastest times were taken by the Yamahas. Vinales, Quartararo, Vinales, and Morbidelli all came in with those in those places, and even Rossi, I think, finished in 11th place or something, and he was pretty happy with how the bike was feeling to him. The Yamahas are a little faster this year, and they are using a new frame, and they seem to be handling better, and so the riders are, at least in this early part of the preseason, pretty happy with the way the bikes are looking. Aprilia is looking kind of competitive this year, and they're hopeful that they're going to place better than they did last year. And Suzuki also is going to. Mears and Rins, I think, finished something like 9th and 10th So they're they're looking good for this year. And KTM didn't do as well in these initial outings, but the bike is looking pretty strong, and I think that they're feeling they're going to be competitive throughout the year. So, and the last part of the news is that Marquez was seen back on a bike for the first time since all of this stuff started with his broken arm, and he may be back in racing sooner than we thought. I was thinking that there may be a few races that go before he actually returns to racing. Maybe he'll return in the second, third, or fourth race this year, not necessarily past that. So I know if he has anything to say about it, he will do that. But he and his team want to be especially careful given what happened last year when he started racing prematurely and really messed up his arm. So anyway, that's what's happening so far. Season starts in a couple of weeks, and I will, of course, be reporting on that as well. So that's it from the paddock for this week.
So
Awesome.
just real quick. So Moto America has not started up yet, but I know we've talked about that Aprilia 660. Was it RS 660?
Yeah,
That's actually been homologated for Moto America Twins Cup. So that's going to be competing with the Suzukis and like Yamaha MT-07s and whatnot. So that should be really cool. And I don't know if you guys had a chance to check out Daytona 200 yesterday. Was an awesome race.
Is that a motorcycle race?
It is actually a motorcycle race. Yeah, actually, Kyle Wyman was defending his title from 2 years ago. They didn't run it in 2020, but unfortunately, he crashed about 20 laps into it. But interesting, like Michael Dunlop was in it, of Isle of Man TT fame. So that was kind of cool to see. He actually finished 11th. So, yeah, was really interesting for anyone who's interested. You can check it out on NBC Track Pass.
And for all of you, well, first I want to say thank you, Chris, for using the term homologated on the show. I never thought that would happen.
My pleasure. I've always wanted to use it on a podcast. So.
Yeah, and for those of you who, like myself, are going to look it up in the thesaurus later, you can just blame Chris because it's all his fault.
Basically means it's okay for racing.
So that's when we're going to start wrapping it up. Big shout out, thank you to all of our Throttle crew members. Of course, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. We really appreciate everything you guys do for us. And if you want to join the Throttle crew, go to the website throttledpodcast.com, fill out the form after clicking on the Patreon logo, and it'll get you signed up. We love getting feedback. Got some feedback earlier. Feedback at throttlepodcast.com. Go to the website throttlepodcast.com, click on the contact form, fill that out, and we'll get that in the same mailbox. Follow us on Twitter at Throttle Show, Instagram Throttle Show, and Facebook Throttled Podcast. We do broadcast live on Sundays about 7:30 Central. About 15 minutes before the show, we'll put out the link to the feed on Twitter and Facebook. And please remember, the 21st and 28th of March, there will be no live show. Outside of that, I think that kind of covers it. Guys, thank you so much, Chris. Thank you for being such a great sport. And I'm glad we were able to get your headphones fixed and you on the air with us tonight.
Yeah, me too.
So, gentlemen, I will see you all in 2 weeks. Let's see. Chris, since we picked on you, we'll let you sign off first today.
All right. So, yeah, it was awesome hanging out with you guys. I know it's Chris's fault that we're not going to have a Throttled MPC podcast team this year. I do hope one of the listeners does decide to captain a Throttled listener team. I think that'd be really awesome. And for what it's worth, if you can get a person or two to help you out, it really wouldn't be that bad, because the main thing the captain has to do is just be the one to submit the streets or whatever for the current week, just kind of coordinate all the listeners or whoever's participating on the team. So it shouldn't have to be overwhelming. So yeah, I think it'd be awesome to have a throttle team going in the competition. So I look forward to recording with you guys again in the near future, and hope to see everybody out there riding on the streets.
And Larry, you want to sign off next?
Sure. So again, I want to reiterate that it's Chris's fault, except for our Harley coverage, which is Tom's fault.
Oh, there you go.
And for the rest of us, let's get out there and ride when we can, and ride safe and ride our own rides. And how about you, Kevin?
Well, I'll let Tom sign off first before I shut it down.
Yeah. All right. So everybody have a good one. And I don't think we did it off air, but we didn't mention on the air. Happy Pi Day, everyone. So if you don't know, it's 3/14. Today is Pi Day. P-I, not P-I-E.
Well, I mean, look, it's always Pi P-I-E Day. I mean, it's always that.
That's a good
If you like pie, I'm not a pie guy.
Yeah.
But no, everybody have a good few weeks off. We should be entertained, refreshed, and have lots to discuss when we come back in a few weeks. So
I'm going to be tired, miserable, and exhausted. But hey, that's vacationing with kids. Even if the parts, just them being here, it's kids. Love them though; they're the best. All joking aside, we'll see everybody in 2 weeks. Thank you everybody in the live chat, keeping it straight, helping us going on with some of the tips and facts about some stuff. And thank you to all you out there listening and making it to the end of the show. We really appreciate it. We'll see you all in a few weeks. Get out there and ride. The weather's getting better. If you are out there riding, please ride safe, and we'll talk to you all